Hello, Tungsten Miner here. I have just built this bridge. As I mentioned in a previous video, I was building roads and wanting to connect things together, and some of the folks on the server are over on that island over there. Actually, it's a fairly large continent, and there was no way to get to them. They had built a little causeway, but, well, I decided to do something a little more elaborate. So, figured I would spend some time today just talking through how I went about building this thing in the first place, and then talk about the details and how it all came together. So to start with, I began by just finding the end of my road, which was about here, and then I decided I was going to make the substructure out of this dacite cobblestone. So I got myself some of the dacite cobblestone, and I just started building a one long bridge straight across, just like this, going all the way to the other side there. And once I got to every 10th meter, I would then pop a little brick off to the side over there, so that later on I could come back and then build a little pillar going down to the bottom of the water. Now I've got on my face right now my snorkel, and this is from the Underwater Utilities mod. And to make one of these things, you need to make yourself one of these, so some leather and some sugar cane, and then you make yourself some goggles. Goggles are more leather, and lenses. This can be any kind of slime you want, and this is iron nuggets. So pretty straightforward recipe. Make yourself a little snorkel, and the fun thing the snorkel does for you is that when you're underwater, within 2 meters of the surface, your air bubbles don't diminish. So I can stay under here as long as I like, so long as I don't go too deep. Now immediately upon going too deep, one, it gets real dark again, and two, you can see my air is starting to go away. So long as I stay within that 2-meter zone, I'm perfectly safe. So I built my pillar down to the seabed, wherever that happened to be at that point. And if I dive down here, you can see it changes quite a bit as I go along. And sometimes it's deeper than 2 meters, so I'd have to go down and dive back up and be kind of quick about it. And in other places, it's quite a lot deeper, so everything was fine. So I would do that, and then having made the 1 meter wide pathway all the way across, I extended it out to 3 meters and built all the way down on both sides. And that gave me that center portion in there. And then what I did was I got a program called Pixin on the Macintosh, and got myself a span. Now I know I was 10 meter, every 10th meter I put down a new pillar, which meant that it was 9 meters wide. And I knew that I had 3 meters between the level of the water and the level of the roadway. So I gave myself a 9x6 little space here, choose the oval tool, and then I'm going to grab, let's see, we'll go with orange here, and then grab my oval tool and draw this. So that gives me the basic outline of the blocks that I need to have. And then I went and I chose scale canvas to make this bigger, and I'm going to say I want this to be 16,000 times bigger. And now I've got a much, much larger unit here. And I'm going to change my color back to black and then draw another oval on top here. So now what I'm looking at is the orange represents where the full 1 meter regular Minecraft blocks go, and the black represents where the smaller Chisels and Bits pieces need to go. And so what I then proceeded to do is, back in the game here, is when I had my shape lined up here, I'd go grab myself a chisel, and I'd set it into line mode, and then I'd start just kind of one at a time picking my way up, right? So let's say 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Whatever the pattern was, that I got from my shape over here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and so on. And I'd keep going and going and going all the way around the arc until I had gotten all of the pieces built up as I needed to. And then I'd take, well, actually, let me take a nap. Right. And I think, yeah, that got us all the way up to there. And then I'd take this guy. Whoops. Yeah, didn't quite get him to the bottom. We'll just knock out a few more pieces. And then I would, no, not quite done there either. So you can see the problem is that there's that one little piece that's connecting it, and that means the whole thing is a connected face. There we go. And then I'd carve off all the rest, all the way back through. I did this for just 1 meter. Forgot that I had put in 3 meters worth of stuff here. I did this for 1 meter until I got that carved piece, and then I moved into the next meter, went back to my pattern, figured out, okay, that's what that's going to look like, and came back to the game, carved that one, and went on until I had all of the pieces. So we can see there's one piece there, there's the second piece, there's the third piece, this is just a solid block, there's the fourth piece, the fifth piece, the sixth piece, and finally, the seventh piece is just a thin 1-bit plate at the top there, and then it's mirrored on the other side. So what I was able to do is to take my positive chisel pattern, grab this guy, and if I want to place it down on that side, I just move over here and pop it there. And if I want to place it down the other side, I just turn around and go to the other place. Or I can hold down Shift and use my mouse wheel and rotate it around either way. So whichever way, it doesn't really matter. It's the same piece on both sides. So that allowed me to carve out the pieces, then duplicate them, extend them across, and that gave me 1/2 of the arch. Then I flipped everything around and did the other half of the arch. I then got in a boat, and I just went and did the whole thing, all the way across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a whole bunch of them, one after another, until I got all of the pieces in there. That gave me a span going across with a roadway. That gave me pillars coming up and down without the granite there. And then that gave me an arch. So now I had gotten the basic shape of the bridge, and it was time to start decorating. So the next thing I did was I grabbed my chisel here, and this is from the chisel mod rather than the Chisels and Bits mod, different mods. And I decided I was going to use granite as my accent material because I knew that it had a whole bunch of different patterns. So I tossed this in here and I started looking around and trying to decide which ones I liked and would make sense for this. So one I grabbed was these layers. Another one I decided to grab was this French one. And then finally, the last one I think I decided to grab was this polished granite. And so if we place these blocks out in the world, you can see those are the patterns that I wound up using. So the layers are right there. The polished granite is for the pillars. And then this French style is actually that piece right there. But you notice there's white in the middle of there. So what I did was I took some diorite and grabbed polished diorite off of that. It's the same polished pattern as I used for the polished granite here, just polished different material. And then I just laid down one little slab on top of there that's 1 bit wide, just to give it a little bit of extra color. And then the sides here are the same material. So here I'm using this French cut granite block, and those 2 extra little nubs right there are the same French cut granite blocks that they line up and form whole bricks, because I wanted brick, 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 and then around, so that all of those lined up there. And then to make the railing, I took the layered stone and extended it 4 bits up just by piling them on, and then extended it across so that I wound up with this over here. And then, as you can see if I get really, really close, I decided I was going to make kind of a pattern, sort of semi-irregular pattern to give a sense of a little balustrade with these nice little pillared supports. And I worked out, I was going to put one of them right up against the edge, one bit away from the edge. And then if I had the next one bit away, I knew I wanted one more. And so I just did the math and figured out, okay, I need this much space in between each one. And then I went and made 1 unit's worth and put a slab on top as the kind of handrail using the same polished granite. And then got my chisel pattern, made a copy of both halves because I didn't want to have it so far into the roadway that I'd lose too much space. Plus, I had already added this extra couple of pieces outside here, and so I wanted the railing to split the difference, and that gave me both halves here. And then I just went up and down using my positive design and went and added the railings on both sides. So now I went back and forth with my boat, got all of these things installed, got all of those things installed, got this little piece installed, and again, I just made myself a whole bunch of positive chisel patterns and put them all where they needed to go. Then, having put in all the sides, having put in all of the banisters, I then went and used my chisel to dig one layer out of the surface, which had been just the same cobblestone. And then I took my diorite here, dropped it in here, looked around, decided I liked this small disordered tiles as my roadbed, and then went ahead and made a bunch of those, and then using my connected material, just dropped them all in. And that gave me the entire bridge. So it looks super nice, I think. Was a fair bit of work to do, mostly just because it's really long. This other island is not quite so close as I would have liked it to be. But once you've got your positive chisel design, it's really just placing down blocks like you do with regular Minecraft, and just repeating them over and over again as you go through. And having picked a relatively small section of arch meant that, and to make the arch symmetrical, meant that I only actually had 7 different patterns that I needed to follow as I was going up the arch, because I could go up one side and then just turn about and go down the other side and take advantage of the symmetry of it. And that was it. Pretty handy to use a boat to be able to go out there and not get hurt. Not get hurt by drowning, of course, and also not get hurt by getting too cold. Because remember, tough as nails makes you get pretty darn cold when you're standing in lots of water. So that's it. If you like this video, go ahead and hit like. If you want to see the next thing that we add to our world here, hit subscribe, and I will talk to you later.